Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2021 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing's annual awards ceremony to recognize all of our 2020 annual awards nominees and winners. I'm Lieutenant Reed Bidgood from the 34th Intelligence Squadron.
I am Master Sergeant Cole Davis from the 94th Intelligence Squadron, and we are honored to be your Masters of Ceremony for this year's annual awards. And it is our pleasure to introduce our host
and Commander, 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing, Colonel Brian Tyler.
And the Vice Commander, the 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing, Colonel Lisa Buer.
The Command Chief, 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Jeremiah Ross.
And the Commander and Superintendent of the 373rd Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Group, Colonel Craig Miller, and Chief Master Sergeant Timothy Hodgen.
The Commander and Superintendent, 543rd Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Group, Colonel Ty Gilbert, and Chief Master Sergeant Amy Mendonça.
The Commander and Superintendent of the 659th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Group, Colonel Brian Garino, and Chief Master Sergeant Melissa Owens.
The Commander and Superintendent, 691st Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Group, Colonel Charles Friel, and Chief Master Sergeant Sabrina Sullivan Green.
The Commander and Superintendent of the 707th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Group, Colonel Michelle Olson, and Chief Master Sergeant Peter Hall.
Thank you for joining us for this ceremony. We would also like to express our gratitude and appreciation to all of the commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, supervisors, spouses, and loved ones in attendance here today for your unwavering devotion and support. At this time, please stand, if able, for the singing of the National Anthem by Technical Sergeant Diane Hoffman.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the hope of the brave?
Awesome. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. And thank you, Sergeant Hoffman, for that beautiful rendition.
Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Hurt, 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing Chaplain, will now lead us in the invocation.
Hello, Roosters. This is Chaplain Jonathan Hurt. I'm here with you as part of the annual awards ceremony, and just have a couple of quotes I want to share with you, and then a blessing for each of our folks today. So one of the quotes is from Christopher Reeve, and he said this: "A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles." This past year, we've had plenty of obstacles in our path, and I thought that quote was good for us. Another one's by Leonardo da Vinci, and he said this: "I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection. 'Tis the business of little minds to shrink, but they whose heart is firm and whose conscience approves their conduct will pursue their principles unto death." Just wanted to share those thoughts with you before I offer a blessing. For those of you who'd like to join me in prayer, please do so. And otherwise, take a moment just to reflect on this occasion together. Let's pray. Dear God, I thank you for an opportunity to give recognition and honor to some truly incredible people. All the nominees for these annual awards today have continued to walk in the footsteps of military heroes and legends who have gone before us. They've pushed beyond the standards to achieve things that others may thought were impossible. We applaud them today, and we also recognize the people around them who contributed to their success. Thank you for family members, friends, loved ones, supervisors, co-workers, and mentors for every encouraging word or home-cooked meal, every pat on the back or kick in the pants, every smile, and every drop of sweat on those nomination forms. We need each other to succeed and even to live, and we're truly thankful for the sacrifices of all those who walk alongside us every day. I thank you for the good days, the days when everything seems to fall in place perfectly and our lives seem to be in harmony. But I also know that many of our days are filled with obstacles and frustrations and setbacks. I pray for every airman and family member who hears my voice to have the determination to press through every obstacle and hold fast to the principles that brought us this far. I pray our challenges would turn into opportunities that build our strength and our character. Bless every airman as we continue to serve. I'm not sure what all they do in the corners and hidden hallways and on aircraft and lands around the globe, but I know that every single 70th ISR Wing airman plays a crucial role in doing the impossible, things that people wouldn't even believe if we could tell them. Finally, I ask your continued protection and strength for all our brothers and sisters who are deployed around the globe or serving in harm's way. Amen.
And a big thank you to Chaplain Hurt for that invocation.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we would like to take a moment and reflect on those who cannot be with us here today.
For those who have served and those currently serving the uniformed services of the United States are ever mindful that the sweetness of enduring peace has always been tainted by the bitterness of personal sacrifice. We are compelled to never forget that while we enjoy our daily pleasures, there are others who have endured and may still be enduring the agonies of pain, deprivation, and internment. Before we begin our activities this afternoon, we will pause to recognize our prisoners of war and those missing in action.
The U.S. Air Force cap represents the 82,000 brothers and sisters in arms captured or missing in action. The white tablecloth represents the purity of their intentions, answering their nation's call to arms. The candle represents the light of hope that lives in the hearts of their loved ones, illuminating their way home. The red rose represents the blood that they have shed to ensure the freedom of the United States of America. The salt represents the tears shed by waiting family members. The inverted glass represents the fact that the missing and fallen cannot partake. The lemon slice represents the bitter fate of the missing.
Now, we would like to thank the 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing Honor Guard for that moving performance. Chief Master Sergeant Jeremiah Ross, your command chief, will now provide a few words of welcome. Chief, the floor is yours.
Excellent. Thank you for the opportunity, Lieutenant. And what a solemn reminder of why we're here, why we wear our nation's cloth. So thanks to the Honor Guard team for that quick reminder of what we do and why we do it. So welcome to the 70th ISR Wing Annual Award Ceremony. It's an event like the Oscars, but better, and we hope you enjoy it from every place that you're sitting at with your fellow roosters across our global wing. So what I thought I'd do, sir, is start off with a story to kind of set the tone here. So for those of you who may or may not know, I take Rudy with me everywhere I go when the boss and I travel the world. And he went on one particular trip with us to San Antonio in the fall of 19. And so there we were right, sir? I was sitting next, Colonel Tyler was on my left, Colonel Cunningham, the 67th Cyber Wing commander, was on my right, and her command chief, Chief Master Sergeant Rob Hopkins, was to the side of her. And we were there when 16th Air Force stood up. And General Hawk was on stage talking to the commander of Air Combat Command, talking to the Chief of Staff of the Air Force, to our 3- and 4-star partners in the joint environment. And we had press in the room. And General Hawk was on a roll talking about information warfare and how we're going to dominate in that domain. And he's in the middle of it. And then all of a sudden, this happens. And my face goes red. So I had Rudy in my cargo pocket, in my pants, and I adjusted in my seat, and that set him off. And people are looking around like, who has a cell phone in the skiff? And my ears are red. I can feel the boss staring at me. But Colonel Cunningham is like, oh my goodness, she's kicking her bag trying to figure out what's going on. And that's the best part of this. She thought she had one of her kids' toys in her backpack, and she set it off. Oh my goodness. That was such an amazing way to introduce the 16th Air Force and the 70th ISR Wing to the rest of the world who was present there. But I bring that up because shortly before General Hawk stood up the 16th Air Force in his role as our commander, we had our fall SLS. And that is where you all of our command teams came together and laid the foundation for where we are today. We got after items, creating a wing strategic plan. We had follow-on working groups to further elaborate our lines of effort. And over the course of several months, you laid the foundation for what we are doing today. We are accelerating cryptologic operations for America. And it is you, our roosters, that are doing all that amazing work. And what other great venue to recognize the hard work over the last year than our annual awards ceremony. I'm very excited to celebrate with some of our exemplars tonight and highlight the awesomeness of the 70th ISR Wing Roosters. Over to you, Lieutenant. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Chief.
We gather here today to recognize our nominees for their outstanding accomplishments. Over the past year, and to pay homage to the 80 years of the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, whose history began just prior to the United States' entry into World War II on 13 September 1941. This year marks 80 years of the 70th. From its inception as the 70th Observation Group conducting anti-submarine operations in the Eastern Pacific, to its evolutions into the 70th Tactical Reconnaissance Group, the 70th Strategic Reconnaissance Wing, the 70th Bombardment Wing Medium, or even the 70th Bombardment Wing Heavy, airmen from America's cryptologic wing have been at the forefront of our nation's defense.
The 70th was also known as the 70th Air Base Wing before its final endeavor into the world of intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance. Since August 16th of 2000, the 70th has led the Air Force's contributions to the Department of Defense's cryptologic mission from right here at Fort George G. Meade, Maryland. And it is that fighting spirit handed down from the thousands of airmen who came before us, which fuels the wing's drive, innovation, and adaptability as we continue to meet the challenges of our adversaries around the globe. So let us remember our history and continue to grow our legacy as we recognize the best of the best for 2020 across 14 categories.
Can we do a quick roll call to our outstations? The 373rd ISRG. Very nice, very nice.
They just might be there.
543rd ISRG.
They were so loud, they broke the audio. That is impressive.
659th ISRG.
Okay, not bad.
Quite good. 691st ISRG. 707th ISRG.
Now, I'm completely unbiased, but that was the best one yet.
70th OSS. And how about the 70th Wing Staff?
Almost as good as the 707th. But now, without further ado, let's introduce this year's nominees. And again, we've got the chat feature, so please feel free to cheer on your guys, blow up the chat. Let's get a little bit excited because at the end of the day, this is really about them. So here we go. The nominees for 2020.
The nominees for Chief Master Sergeant John B. Hawley, Airman of the Year are from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Elena Armentrout.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Josue Hernandez.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Alex Virgil.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Omar Gohari.
From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Marilyn Wilkins.
And from the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Senior Airman Mary Whitcott. And ladies and gentlemen, those are your nominees for Airman of the Year.
The nominees for Airman Technician of the Year are from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Kristen Garcia.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Airman First Class Justin Chin Yet.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Alex Armentrout.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Brendan Wright.
From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Airman Tyler Fletcher.
And from the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Senior Airman Damani Wright. And those, ladies and gentlemen, are your nominees for Airman Technician of the Year.
The nominees for Technical Sergeant Ernest R. Parrish, Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year are from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Technical Sergeant Brian Corbin.
From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Chad Marcus.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant James Crandall.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Ryan Denton.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Vinico Harris.
And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Mackenzie Harris.
From the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Technical Sergeant Amber Machino.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, your nominees for the Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year.
The nominees for Chief Master Sergeant Mark A. Thomas, Non-Commissioned Officer Technician of the Year are from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Staff Sergeant Dylan Dorsey.
From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Janice Smith.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Staff Sergeant Daniel Zimmerman.
And all the way from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Gregory Winkler. See, they're excited.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Technical Sergeant Berenger Carter.
And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Staff Sergeant Tyler Wolf.
From the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Technical Sergeant Nicole Stakely.
Ladies and gentlemen, those are your nominees for Non-Commissioned Officer Technician of the Year.
The nominees for Chief Master Sergeant Kevin G. Slater, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year are from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Master Sergeant Michael Allison.
From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Master Sergeant Richard Keene.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant Nicole Favuza.
And from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant Stuart Chumney.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant Corey Mayfield.
From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant Lane Ramey.
From the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Master Sergeant Nicholas Potts.
Ladies and gentlemen, those were your nominees for Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year.
The nominees for Senior Master Sergeant Raymond F. Tadino, First Sergeant of the Year are from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant William Ferreira.
And from the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant Horace Coleman.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Master Sergeant Brandon Schwartzmiller.
And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Senior Master Sergeant Jeffrey Van Dyke. And ladies and gentlemen, those were your nominees for the First Sergeant of the Year.
The nominees for Lieutenant General John D. Bansmer, Company Grade Officer of the Year are from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Captain Sam Donikowski.
From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Catherine Ward.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Clifford Butler.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Keegan Newton.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, First Lieutenant Shane Culver.
And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Arturo Urquiera.
From the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Captain Kristen Hood.
And ladies and gentlemen, once again, those were your nominees for the Company Grade Officer of the Year.
The nominees for Company Grade Officer Technician of the Year are from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Captain Brian Eiselman.
Oh, the wing is alive. They are here. From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Joey Ching.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Andrea Berry.
Oh. And from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, First Lieutenant Nathan Barton.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Michael Lavoie.
And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Captain Julian Freeman. Oh, okay. I thought they were going to do better. But ladies and gentlemen, the nominees for Company Grade Officer Technician of the Year.
The nominees for Field Grade Officer of the Year are from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Major Sean Morawski.
Nope, just Captain Eiselman we like. From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Major Tyler Williams.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Major Angela Morrissey.
She's also popular. From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Major Christopher Kairos.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Major Maxwell Courier.
Okay. All right. Somebody's getting into the spirit now. From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Major Jeffrey Pelkey.
From the 70th Operations Support Squadron, Major John Boswell.
And ladies and gentlemen, the nominees for Field Grade Officer of the Year.
The nominees for our Category 1 Civilian of the Year are from the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Mr. Michael Hamilton.
And from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Miss Mary Lilly.
From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Miss Retha Bakrifke. The nominees for our Category 2 Civilian of the Year are from the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Mr. Abraham Green.
Yeah, they got a bell. Awesome. From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Mr. Richard Mitchell.
The nominees for our Category 3 Civilian of the Year are, from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Mr. Frank Bednar.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Mr. Fernando Vargas.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Mr. Brandon Weatherspoon.
Okay, we'll try this one more time. And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, I said it slow so you have time to get ready, Mr. Joseph Chope. Ladies and gentlemen, the nominees for our civilian categories of the year.
The nominees for the Team of the Year are, from the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Inspector General Team.
All right. From the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Air Force National Tactical Integration, Colorado.
From the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, 352nd COS Project Team.
And from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, Foundational Services.
From the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, National Tactical Services.
Either they're on their way to an emergency or now they're excited. And from the 70th Operations Support Squadron, the PC team. Ladies and gentlemen, those were our nominees for our Teams of the Year.
And finally, the nominees for the Colonel Harold J. Beatty Squadron of the Year are, from the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, the 531st Intelligence Squadron.
From the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, the 35th Intelligence Squadron.
From the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, 34th Intelligence Squadron.
I love the duck calls. And from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group, the 32nd Intelligence Squadron.
And rounding out the category.
They have woken up. Give them a second. Okay.
Yeah,
now we can continue.
that was definitely a good round there. Speaking of rounding out the category, the 70th Operations Support Squadron.
Ladies and gentlemen, those were our nominees for the Squadron of the Year.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've just met the best of the best in the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing for 2020. We are proud to celebrate our nominees. Let's turn on our microphones and give them some cheers.
Try and break Zoom. Go for it.
The next order of business is to introduce our guest speaker, Major General Jim H. Keffer, United States Air Force, retired.
Major General Keffer is the Director for Cyber at Lockheed Martin, where he leads interactions with senior U.S. government leaders associated with cyber policy, programs, budgets, and operations. He also articulates U.S. government cyber priorities and capability gaps to Lockheed Martin's cyber and technology-related business units across the corporation.
General Keffer served as the Chief of Staff, U.S. Cyber Command, and acted as the command's principal staff officer, assistant, and advisor to the commander. As the Chief of Staff, he directed and coordinated the staff directorates comprising over 900 personnel. with the mission of directing the operations and defense of specified DoD networks and, when directed, conducted full-spectrum military cyberspace operations to ensure U.S. allied freedom of action in cyberspace while denying the same to our adversaries.
General Keffer also served as the U.S. Air Force's senior-ranking career intelligence officer and Deputy Chief of Staff for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance at the Headquarters U.S. Air Force. As the Deputy Director for Intelligence, Multinational Forces Iraq and Baghdad, the Senior Military Assistant for the DoD under the Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, and as the Air Attaché to Austria, Slovakia, and Slovenia. His career spanned widely across signals, imagery, and human intelligence operations and analysis at the tactical, operational, and strategic levels. He also served as the Commander, Air Force Intelligence Analysis Agency.
General Keffer has commanded at the squadron, group, wing, and agency levels to include our very own 70th Intelligence Surveillance and Reconnaissance Wing from September 2005 to December 2007. Additionally, he served as the Deputy Chief of the Central Security Service and oversaw 15,000 joint military members that conducted global cryptologic and cyberspace operations and reported directly to the Director of the National Security Agency. Please join us in welcoming General Keffer, our keynote speaker.
That was my question too, Dory.
All right, I think we're ready.
We can hear you loud and clear, sir.
All right, great. Well, I tell you what, thanks for the reading the bio, but the best job I ever had was the one that I had with this wing here. And you can see behind me my most memorable keepsake, and that's the 70th Wing flag and all the unit coins behind me. But thank you very much for the kind invitation to speak today at your award ceremony. I know COVID has taken a toll on us, but I tell you, to see this annual award ceremony, the way it's put together, the agenda that you put together, the singing by Sergeant Hoffman, and the prayer by the chaplain, to include a little fun in there. That was good to see. That really makes things, that helps to overcome the COVID loneliness that we feel as we're not, in our normal spaces and seeing our normal folks like we would like, and family as well. So again, really pleased to be speaking to you today. It's an honor and a privilege to address my former wing that I always hold close by and dear. So I'd like to thank Colonel Tyler and Colonel Flanagan and Command Chief for allowing me to speak today. Looking good there, Colonel and Command Chief, Commander and Command Chief in the mess dress. That's awesome. And so I'd just like to talk about a couple of things. Lieutenant Bidgood said he gave me like 3 hours, so you'll probably have to delay your dinner a little bit, but thank you so much for giving me all that time. I've got a lot to say. I can't forget Master Sergeant Cole too, because he was in this deal too. So appreciate it, guys. Now, what I'd like to talk a little bit about today is my favorite subject, and my favorite subject is Airmen. That is by far the most satisfying piece of the time I had with the 70th. And so I know you all, you're all across the United States and other parts of the world, all the way out to Japan. And I tell you, as I traveled around, just like Colonel Tyler and the chief, and saw what the airmen of the 70th Wing were doing across the board, it just made me so proud. And I know you can't talk about what you do very much to your family and friends, but boy, I tell you, what an impact you have from providing information in intelligence to the President of the United States on down, and to providing life-saving intelligence to troops in combat. I mean, I've seen the airmen of this wing do that on a regular basis. I remember one time I was visiting NSA Georgia, and there was an airman there, a staff sergeant, and she had just found I'll say a piece of information that resulted in a critic. And so this staff sergeant work within 20 minutes made it to the desk of the President of the United States. That's pretty darn impressive. And I don't know of any other staff sergeant in the Air Force that wields that type of power. And that's what belonging to this wing gives you. And I've also seen our folks with the cans on their heads, listening to things in real firefights to help out our troops in contact and to take care of the adversary out there. And so the wing just runs the gamut of missions and is so proud of everything that they do. I just love talking about you. And not only that, but you can't make the wing run without the engine room. And that's all the support people that provide that outstanding support day in and day out that allows the mission to happen. I used to always make it a point when I went to visit a unit, I'd always stop by their comm center or their IT side, because nobody ever goes to an IT guy or a comms guy or gal and says, "Hey, thanks very much for keeping the networks up." They only, the network folks only get visits when things go bad, and then they get a lot of visits all of a sudden. So thanks to all those folks in the engine room to keep things going. One thing I wanted to pass along is what I did when I was the wing commander there. I came up with this little card, and hopefully you'll be able to see it a little bit. That's all it is. It's a card that went around. I asked everybody in the wing across the world to wear this little card on their neck. And I'll tell you about it a little later, but what the card was intended to do, and it's a hard plastic card, kind of like an ID card, and it fits into your security badge holding a lanyard. And so I asked everybody across the wing to wear this, and we spent a lot of time figuring out the words. The commanders and myself and the enlisted leaders spent a lot of time figuring out, what do we want our airmen to think of across the world? Because at the time, we were embedded in NSA centers like we are now. But at the time when I took over, our airmen, they weren't, hopefully it's still this way, that the airmen report to airmen, airmen write on airmen. At the time, most of the airmen were written on by personnel not in their chain of command, their formal chain of command. And so I wanted to give these airmen out there a sense of, hey, be proud of being in the Air Force, be proud of your mission, and there's certain expectations of you. So we came up with this little card, and it's all based around the term airman, AIRMAN. And so we came up with a word for each of those, and I'll give you a test afterwards. But A was, guess what A was for? It was for being an airman. Here you are, you signed up, you raised your hand, you swore an oath, and you committed the next years or maybe a career in the service of your country. You're willing to, by doing that, you're willing to go into harm's way and potentially lay down your life. And so that's a huge commitment from each one of you that raised your hand and took that oath. So we wanted to make sure that, hey, you are airmen first, and be proud of that fact. The next one, the I, is one of our 3 core values, right? You can figure what that one is, and that's integrity. And integrity, people would say, well, what's integrity mean? What is that? I know it's not lying, and well, there's little white lies that we do all the time. Like when I ask my wife, hey, honey, how do I look? She goes, oh, you look cute, honey. And I know she's lying, right? I mean, look at this. But it's the gut feeling that you have. Integrity, I tell people, is, you've been through a lot of training. You've seen leadership around. You've been with your peers. You know what right is. You know in your gut what right is. And integrity is when you start doing things against your gut, what your gut is telling you. So don't do that. Don't go against your gut. If your gut tells you not to do that, from an integrity standpoint, probably the right thing, so don't do that. And that means things like, ridiculous things like driving while intoxicated and I'm not saying don't take risks, because I like taking risks, but they got to be smart risk and calculated risk. The R was for ready, and that was being ready across a bunch of different categories. Home affairs ready, your training all up to date, your schooling all up to date. Ready means at that time, this was back when some of you were saying, I was only 3 years old at that time when you were the wing commander. But ready meant, hey, ready to deploy on a moment's notice. So if there's something that's got to be done somewhere, you probably want to be the first one in line to raise your hand and say, send me in, coach. And there's just opportunities come up that if you're ready, you'll be able to take advantage of those opportunities, and the Air Force will be able to take advantage of you and your skills and strengths and expertise and go in and go forward. So keeping ready, and that means medical, getting all your medical stuff done as well. The M was for mission focus, right? Mission is job one. That's what we do. That's what we focus on. So that was an easy one. People got that one right away. The A was for accountable, being accountable for your actions, both good and bad. And I liked what the Chaplain Hunt said. He said sometimes a pat in the back and sometimes a kick in the pants. And I've done both. I like patting on the back better than kicking in the pants. But I tell you what, if you kick somebody in the pants, figuratively, when they need it, if they're really good, they will appreciate it and they'll turn around and you just save someone. You just turned around, put them on the good path, because people need those boundaries and they'll test, and you want that, you want people to go out and do as much as they can. At the same time, you want to keep them within certain boundaries. So making people accountable for their actions, both good and bad, that's really important as a leader. And leadership is part of what this annual award ceremony is about, right? Building future leaders. And then the last one I'll touch on is the N, and that's the one that most people most of the airmen in the wing really liked, and that was never alone. In the service, and now expanding beyond the Air Force, but if you're a member of the military service or a civilian associated with the military service, no matter where you go in the world, if you see a U.S. uniform, no matter where you can be, you automatically have that bond because you're serving in our nation, right? You're serving in the service of our country, and you've got that immediate bond. So nobody in the wing, nobody in the Air Force, nobody in any of the services, be it military or civilian, should ever feel like they're alone. We have tremendous programs to take care of our airmen. When we find ourselves in the same foxhole, we kind of fight for each other's way of life. And so never alone was really important. And to kind of drive that point home, back a long time ago, so about 18 years ago, about 15 years ago. So some of you were 5 years old. We had the Air Force anniversary ball at the wing, right over at Fort Meade Club. And this young lieutenant, just like Lieutenant Bidgood here, I asked a young lieutenant, said, hey, I want to get somebody, a speaker, that can resonate with our airmen. I want to get somebody that, kind of had a hard life, joined the service, and the service turned him around. And as we talked about it, we said, hey, and this movie was kind of popular at the time. I said, hey, let's try to get Antoine Fisher. And if you know the movie, it came out in 2002, and it was Denzel Washington directed it, and was the psychologist in the movie. But Antoine Fisher is a story of a young man that came from a broken household. He ended up on the streets of Chicago. He never took drugs, but he was kind of a bodyguard for people that dealt in drugs. And he found himself sleeping on a bench on one winter morning in Chicago, just freezing to death and hungry. And so he took a little walk and he saw this recruiting station and walked by it. And on the recruiting station was a sign that said, join the Navy, see the world. And so he said, okay, that sounds better than what I'm doing now. So he went into the Navy, and he was still a very troubled young man, and met with psychologists. And over the course of time, the psychologist turned him around. And in the book, if you read the book, so Antoine Fisher was walking on the deck of his ship, and he had his head down. He seemed to always have his head down because he didn't think much of himself. So this petty officer, he walks by a petty officer, and the petty officer says, "Fisher, get your head up." And Fisher says, "Chief, I don't have anything to put my head up over." And the petty officer said, "Well, you're in the Navy, aren't you?" And so that line, that really struck with him, because when we were meeting with him, he said that to me about 3 times. And just for the heck of it, from this is old. This is from 2006. The pages are yellow. But see, that's Antoine Fisher there, the one without the uniform. And it's a terrific story. He was such a cool guy. He came in. We told him, this young lieutenant that found him, told him, "Hey, we can only pay for your flight, and we can only pay coach." He goes, "Sure, yeah, I'll do it. I'll come over." And so he flew over. We put him up in a hotel, and then when we escorted him back to the plane, he takes out his credit card and gets a first class upgrade and flies out. So, yeah. He really wanted to do that, and he really appreciated being there. But man, I tell you, it was captivating. So that tells a story of you're never alone. If this young man can come in off the street and feel like the Navy saved his life, and he'll tell you that, that's pretty awesome. And that's what the services do for you. Here, let me read this from him. He said during our awards, or our dining out for the Air Force anniversary, he said, "I joined the service because I was alone in the world. I was afraid and hungry, and I didn't have anybody," said Mr. Fisher. "However, while I was in the Navy, I filled up on self-esteem. I became brave and confident." And that's pretty awesome. That's how you all should feel out there, brave and confident with a lot of self-esteem, and taking care of each other so we can all get the mission done that the country relies on so heavily for you to do. And unfortunately, you can't say too much about what you do. The other thing I wanted to mention was I knew Chief Slater and John Bansmer both work with, actually, they work for me. John did really well. Chief Slater, he is the chief's chief. He is just awesome. And then Ray Tordino, God bless his soul, he was a terrific first sergeant. He was fantastic. So kudos to you on selecting those strong individuals. I'll be quiet for now. Just remember that there's only going to be one winner out here, right? There's just one winner. But I tell you what, we all make a difference. We all make a difference. There'll be one winner tonight in each category, or today, but we all make a difference, and don't forget that. Okay, with that, I'll quit so we can get on with the ceremony. All right, thank you for your time, and best of luck to you. Keep going after those bad guys and making a difference. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you, General Keffer, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Now, there is one more thing that I do want to mention, as it was pointed out in the chat, that the nominee from the 373rd ISRG for Squadron of the Year seems to have disappeared. Now, I'm not going to say that there was some hackery involved on the part of the Russians, but there might have been, and I can't say that there wasn't. So To make this up, I wanted to say that the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group Squadron of the Year nominee is the 566th Intelligence Squadron. So for that, I apologize, but really we should blame cyber. They should have caught that.
Our purpose here this afternoon is to recognize the best of the best in the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing for 2020, with 5 groups conducting critical missions at over 28 locations across the globe. These nominees stood out amongst their peers.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to announce the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing's Outstanding Performers of the Year for 2020. Now, as many of you know, the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing sought out some of the finest examples of rooster ingenuity and leadership, the epitome of what it means to be an airman, a technician, and a leader. Chief Master Sergeant John B. Hawley embodied all of those characteristics during his 30-year career, 22 of which were spent right here in the 70th. As a senior airman, he earned a Meritorious Service Medal, which is a feat rarely achieved by a junior enlisted, and culminated his career in the wing as the National Security Agency Directorate of Operations Senior Enlisted Leader.
The 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing Chief Master Sergeant John B. Hawley, Airman of the Year, will be announced by Chief Hawley.
I am Chief Master Sergeant Retired John Hawley, and I am honored to be part of this year's 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Annual Award Ceremony. The 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Annual Award is presented to the best of the best ISR airmen from around the globe defending our national security. I'm happy to announce the winner of this year's Airman of the Year is Senior Airman Josue Hernandez from the 93rd Intelligence Squadron. Congratulations, Josue.
Awesome. Congratulations to Airman Josue Hernandez from the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group. Are they still here? I thought I heard them. I heard them. Okay.
I think so. And next up, the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing Airman Technician of the Year goes to
From the 531st Intelligence Squadron, Airman First Class Justin Chin Yet.
Awesome.
Congratulations to Airman Justin Chin Yet from the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
All right, up next, we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Technical Sergeant Ernest R. Parrish, Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Sergeant Parrish was a cryptologic language analyst who served in a variety of technically complex positions to include voice systems operator, tactical reporter, plain text weather processor, voice systems controller, voice analysis manager, and airborne linguist. Sergeant Parrish tragically passed away when the Boeing E-3 Century, call sign Euclid 27 he was on, crashed shortly after takeoff from Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska on September 22nd, 1995.
And to honor his memory, the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing Ernest R. Parrish, Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year, goes to
From the 566 Intelligence, Sergeant Tad Marcus.
Congratulations to Technical Sergeant Chad Marcus from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
There he is. Next, we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Chief Master Sergeant Mark A. Thomas, Non-Commissioned Officer Technician of the Year. Chief Thomas is a career signals intelligence analyst who twice earned silver medals as a non-commissioned officer during the annual, this is going to date it a little bit, Air Intelligence Agency-sponsored Sensor Olympics, and completed the Middle Enlisted Cryptologic Career Advancement Program at the National Security Agency, and ultimately culminated his career at the 70th as the Wing Command Chief, becoming the first enlisted airman in 25th Air Force to earn the Legion of Merit.
The 70th Intelligence Surveillance Reconnaissance Wing Chief Master Sergeant Mark A. Thomas, Non-Commissioned Officer Technician of the Year, will be announced by Chief Thomas.
I am Chief Master Sergeant Retired Mark Thomas, former Command Chief of the 70th ISR Wing, and it is my honor to introduce our Wing's Nco Technician of the Year. This is a special award for me because we know the NCO Corps is the backbone of the Armed Forces, and ours is a service born of innovation made only possible by our dedication to technical expertise. Without further ado, our Wing's NCO Technician of the Year is Tech Sergeant Gregory Winkler from 35th Intelligence Squadron. Great job, Greg.
All right, there you go.
Well, congratulations to Technical Sergeant Gregory Winkler from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
Now, we have the 70th Intelligence Surveillance Reconnaissance Wing Chief Master Sergeant Kevin G. Slater, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year. Chief Slater, a career cryptologic language analyst, completed the prestigious Middle Enlisted Career Advancement Program internship at the National Security Agency. He was well known for deliberately developing the Senior Non-Commissioned Officer Corps and concluded his remarkable nearly 30-year career as the dual-hatted Command Senior Enlisted Leader of the United States Cyber Command and Senior Enlisted Advisor to the Director of the National Security Agency.
The 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Kevin G. Slater, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year, will be announced by Chief Slater.
Good evening. Colonel Tyler, Chief Ross, and the men and women of America's Cryptologic Wing. I am Kevin Slater, Chief Master Sergeant, retired, and the namesake of the award I'm about to announce. It is my pleasure to announce that this year's recipient of the 70th ISR Wing's Senior NCO of the Year Award is a 1 in 4 Bravo from the 34th Intelligence Squadron, Master Sergeant Corey Mayfield. Congratulations, Sergeant Mayfield.
Congratulations to Master Sergeant Corey Mayfield from the 691st Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group. Go Ducks.
And next, we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing, Senior Master Sergeant Raymond F. Tadino, First Sergeant of the Year. First Sergeant Tadino was a highly regarded First Sergeant for multiple squadrons in the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing from 2006 to 2011. A true servant leader, he was famous for always making time for any and every airman who asked for his help. His selfless service, enduring leadership, and unrelenting care for our airmen earned him the legacy of everyone's First Sergeant. First Sergeant of the Year will be announced by Miss Shelley Tadino.
Oh, Shelley.
Hello, I'm Shelley Tadino, and I'm honored tonight to be presenting the Senior Master Sergeant Raymond F. Tadino First Sergeant of the Year Award. Senior Master Sergeant Tadino truly embodied the principles on which this office of the First Sergeant was founded, and he never met an airman that he wouldn't help. It is my pleasure to announce the winner. This year is Master Sergeant William Ferreira of the 381st Intelligence Squadron. Congratulations.
Now people are starting to get a little bit loud. I'm starting to like it. So congratulations to Master Sergeant Ferreira from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
Up next, we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing Lieutenant General John D. Bansmer, Company Grade Officer of the Year. General Bansmer, as a company grade officer, completed the highly competitive System, Network, and Interdisciplinary Program at the National Security Agency, which is today known as part of the Computer Network Operations Development Program. He later served as the commander, 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing from 2009 to 2011, and ultimately finished his career as the Assistant Director of National Intelligence for Partner Engagement, Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The John D. Bansmer Company Grade Officer of the Year Award will be announced by General Bansmer.
Hello, 70th ISR Wing. I am John Bansmer, and I have the privilege of announcing the winner of the 70th ISR Wing Company Grade Officer of the Year Award. I recently heard about some of the great work that 16th Air Force is doing, and it was evident to me the contributions that the 70th is making to that mission. Thank you for staying engaged during this pandemic and for all you continue to do. And now on to our winner. The winner of the 70th ISR Wing Company Grade Officer of the Year is Captain Keegan Newton from the 7th Intelligence Squadron. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Captain Keegan Newton from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
And now, moving on to the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Company Grade Officer Technician of the Year, which goes to
Roosters, our Company Grade Technician Officer of the Year, 531st Intelligence Squadron.
Congratulations to Captain Andrea Berry from the 543rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
And moving on to the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Field Grade Officer of the Year. And that award goes to
Roosters, our Field Grade Officer of the Year, Major Jeffrey Pelkey from the 707th Communications Squadron. Congratulations, Jeff.
There they are. Awesome. Congratulations to Major Jeffrey Pelkey from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
Now we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing Category 1 Civilian of the Year, which goes to
From the 7th IS, Mary Lilly.
Congratulations to Miss Mary Lilly from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
I'm just giving them a second. I thought they might be loud. But okay, we'll move on to the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Category 2 Civilian of the Year, which goes to
Richard Mitchell from the 707th Force Support Squadron.
All right. Congratulations to Mr. Richard Mitchell from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
And now we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing Category 3 Civilian of the Year, which goes to
From the 566 Intelligence.
Oh, that might be the best one yet.
Congratulations to Mr. Frank Bednar from the 373rd Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
And next up, we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Wing Team of the Year, which in this case goes to
National Tactical Services from the 707th Communications Squadron.
Awesome. Well, congratulations to the National Tactical Services Team from the 707th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
And lastly, but certainly not least, we have the 70th Intelligence, Surveillance, Reconnaissance Wing, Colonel Harold J. Beatty Squadron of the Year. Colonel Beatty began his career as an enlisted electronic intelligence analyst and communications specialist. He was a distinguished graduate of Officer Training School and commissioned as an intelligence officer. Colonel Beatty concluded his astonishing 35-year career as the first commander of the 70th Intelligence Wing from 2000 to 2002, laying the foundation for the Air Force's first global signals intelligence wing, which we know today as America's Cryptologic Wing. The Colonel Harold J. Beatty Squadron of the Year will be announced by Colonel Tyler on behalf of Colonel Beatty.
Okay, Roosters, although Colonel Beatty was unable to attend virtually today, he was so kind as to send us a letter of congratulations and assist us in announcing our Squadron of the Year for 2020. So let me read from Colonel Beatty. I send my heartfelt congratulations to the personnel of the 35th Intelligence The Bulldogs are this year's 70th ISR Wing Squadron of the Year. This award is a testament to your hard work, dedication to excellence, and focus on your unit's mission. Given the high caliber of the other units within the wing, it's also significant that you stood out among your fellow squadrons. I know you are proud of your well-deserved accomplishment and will continue your example of excellence as you celebrate your success. I ask you to look beyond your own unit. If you see something that will help a fellow unit, offer your support. If you are aware another unit is struggling in a certain area, reach out and offer help. Don't be afraid to share your secret sauce that may help another unit reach that next level. Regardless of your unit's well-earned individual success, the ultimate goal is the success of the larger group and wing mission. Congratulations to the 35th Intelligence Squadron, our Bulldogs down in Texas.
Congratulations to the 35th Intelligence Squadron from the 659th Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Group.
And now we will turn the floor over to your commander, Colonel Brian Tyler. Colonel Tyler, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And what a wonderful way to spend a Friday afternoon celebrating America's Cryptologic Wing and taking pride in the Roosters around the world. I've got to say, gentlemen, very well done to the entire team who put on tonight's broadcast. Lieutenant Reed Bidgood, Master Sergeant Cole Davis, fantastic job. And I know you were not alone in accomplishing this. Lieutenant Justin Campbell, Lieutenant Reddish, Master Sergeant Allison, and Tech Sergeant Diane Hoffman, fantastic rendition of our national anthem. Very, very well done. And the list goes on.
There's many committee members out here, so we'd like to continue recognizing them. Staff Sergeant Manley, Captain Gomez, Master Sergeant O'Hagan, Master Sergeant Stevenson, and Tech Sergeant Cleghorn. Thank you for being team leads throughout this process and helping us celebrate our wing.
And the admin team who helped put this together. Captain Jawar, Master Sergeant KB Bremer, Tech Sergeant Cleghorn, our CAG Staff Sergeant Ashley Som, our Protocol Officer Miss Tierra Seal, of course Com, Staff Sergeant Zubia, and our wonderful PA office, Staff Sergeant Willis. Please, everybody, give them a round of applause. This was a complicated production, and they did it fast and fun and worthy of our award nominees and America's Cryptologic Wing. Very well done. I must say thank you as well to Major General Keffer for your message today and for your pride in America's Cryptologic Wing. Sir, you are an airman first and foremost, an airman with integrity, who is ready, mission-focused, accountable, and you set the example, never alone. We appreciate your leadership, General, in and out of uniform, and for you being one of our wing exemplars and your continued investment in the 70th ISR Wing. Everybody give General Keffer a round of applause. And I thank all of our wonderful exemplars who were able to participate tonight. Chief Master Sergeant John Hawley, Chief Master Sergeant Mark Thomas, the family of Tech Sergeant Parrish, Chief Master Sergeant Retired Kevin Slater, the family of Senior Master Sergeant Ray Tudino, of course, Lieutenant General John Bansmer, and Colonel Harold Beatty. We are all inspired by their example of leadership, excellence, and service, and we thank them for setting the standard so very high for America's cryptologic wing. Give all of our exemplars a round of applause, please. Okay, Roosters. We came here tonight to congratulate our award winners, Outstanding Airmen for 2020, and we do that. And to our award winners, I want you to hear from me. Success is always a team sport. Thank you for representing our entire wing so well. Congratulations to our award winners. As extraordinary a year as was 2020, there is so much opportunity in 2021 to be tactically brilliant airmen and guardians who are leading, indeed accelerating, cryptologic operations for America. Roosters around the world, the fight is already on. Lead on.
Thank you, Colonel Tyler.
It has been a pleasure serving as your MCs for this year's annual awards ceremony. We would like to thank all of those supervisors and leaders who spent countless hours putting packages together to recognize our nominees. Without your efforts, these exceptional individuals couldn't be recognized today.
And an event such as this would not have been possible without a tremendous amount of effort from our team of volunteers. So once again, we would very much like to thank everyone involved in making this event possible and this week happen.
And to all commanders, senior enlisted leaders, families, friends, and other guests, thank you for attending.
And on behalf of Colonel Tyler, have a splendid evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. The fight's on.
Fight's on.